Hello.
Hi.
So did you see Jill's email? I just saw it.
No, hang on a second. Let me um let me look. We are being recorded. Um,
Yep,
okay.
I will ask those questions for her.
Um, okay. Um, okay. Okay.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'll ask them. I'm
Yeah. All right. I mean, so the let's see. Um, um,
I don't know what sufficiently inclusive, adequate, and normative means.
right, right. And so it wasn't Ty and Bond, it was O'Reilly, Talbot, and Okun. And the architects, based on a request from the civil engineers and the structural engineers, advised us of what to ask for when O'Reilly, Talbot, and Okun made a proposal. The architect sent it to the structural engineer, and I sent it to the civil engineer, and they both signed off on it saying, yes, this is exactly what we need. So the answer to that is yes. And then geotechnical investigation, um, uh, we've done a lot of testing for hazardous materials under the guidance of the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection and 3 different licensed site professionals, and no other testing is indicated at this point in time. And when we put in a well, it will be tested for all the different things that are required for a public water supply. And then I guess, nobody in this committee meeting is gonna, have the answer about that insurance question, but I think, we've had 3 different licensed site professionals do work on the site, and the only hazardous materials that we've found are back in the vicinity of the radio tower, and that's really outside the scope of this project, and it's being addressed.
Mhm.
And then the architects can say if anything that they found is going to add to the cost of the library. But I think it was pretty, I won't speak to that.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Final planning done for the race.
So I think we're in really good shape. We had a meeting today, and we'll all meet at this, and then I have a meeting with a subgroup tonight at 9 o'clock at the athletic club. So And then there's another subgroup meeting tomorrow, little subcommittees. And then a bunch of us will meet at the school Friday evening to set up the gym. And we've got people setting up tents and things Friday during the day. We had 107 people registered
Excellent.
this morning, and there's a really nice newspaper article now that Scott Mersbeck wrote. So it's in the Recorder and the Gazette today.
Excellent.
And so we're really excited. We've done it,
You did it.
Yes.
That's
yes.
amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
the work that Barbara and I put in to our Movement Voter Project run in the first year of COVID. Oh my God, that was so much work. And this seemed like it was a lift, but not as high.
Right. So I'll tell you, Sam Speziak
Oh
is
yeah.
magic,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so so we have a grant funded fundraising coach. And she was, helpful in some ways, but this isn't really really her thing. And then Sam and Andy and Barbara have all run a lot of races, right? So they brought
Right.
all of that experience. And then Sam just, she's just been magic, and it's really, the community really came through, like the business community really came through, and to make it successful. So yeah, so it's
That's
really
great.
yeah, good. Hi Brad, hi Neil.
Hi guys.
Okay.
Good evening.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna send a text to Becky. So
You're downstairs at the
yes, yeah,
town hall?
Becky's not here, and I have another meeting here after this meeting, that I need the meeting owl for.
What time is your other meeting? 6:30?
7:30.
7:30. Okay.
So we have to be done at 7:30.
We will definitely be done by 7:30.
Okay. Okay. Who's here?
Definitely have to wait for Penny.
Yeah, well, it's 4:59. And let's see, Dale. There's Penny.
There's Penny. Did you hear from Molly?
I haven't heard from Molly.
No, neither have I.
Okay, I'll just send her a quick text.
And I don't have Dale's,
I can send him a text too.
okay, all right.
Okay.
No dogs.
No dogs.
He likes to put his paw on the keyboard, which doesn't help with taking our minutes.
Okay, well, you text them. It is 5:01, so I'd like to call the meeting to order since we have enough of our committee. Thank you, everyone, for being flexible with your timing. This was a tough one to schedule, it seemed. Let's open it up to public comment. I see Jill and Amanda here. Amanda, go ahead. You're muted. There you go.
Once again, thank you, Elaine.
Sure.
Okay. First, I'd like to start out by thanking the committee for recognizing the importance of the geotechnical investigation for Lateral 32, getting it done so quickly, and for quickly posting the report on the town website. I see that you're planning a short discussion of the report a little later. I do have a few questions, and I can pitch them now or wait until the agenda item comes up if you're planning to take comments. It's up to you.
Why don't could you email them to the library building committee's email address and I have some questions that Jill had sent me, so I could do both of those at that time.
Okay, that's what I'll do then.
Thank you. Thanks. Jill,
Yeah, good evening.
good evening.
You just answered my question, that you'll entertain those questions when the agenda item comes up. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there anything else? Anyone else? No. Okay, let's review the minutes from our previous meetings. Penny, you have the dates there. I don't remember which ones were. I know that you just sent us.
The only one that I believe is outstanding are the ones from our meeting on October 25th.
Yes, that's the only thing that I have.
And I got comments from you, Elaine, and from Stephen. Thank you. It helps to have another one or two pairs of eyes to look at things. And I especially appreciate Stephen's helping me on all the technical stuff where I often am struggling to follow the language as I'm taking notes. So thanks to both of you. I do have one quick question. I had asked, and maybe somebody remembers, and maybe Amanda can weigh in on this. I had that Amanda and April Stein were at the last meeting, but I don't know if that was an artifact. And I haven't been able to track down the recording to double check that. Anyone remember?
I can check and see who was there.
Okay, thank you. So if you
That can be added
Yes.
after. Yep. Brad, you have a comment on the minutes?
On second page, the big top paragraph, a little more than halfway down. He will include, there's a missing letter there, starting on the left side.
you will, oh, yeah, thanks.
And then further down, third page, in the section that starts bold roof pitch, it's pretty far the way down, who commented that he's not a fan of, I think it's the design.
Okay, let me skip to that spot. I'm still looking. Commented that he is not a fan of the design. Okay,
And that was it.
great. Well, that wasn't too bad.
Penny, do you want me to read you everyone who was there?
Uh,
Um,
sure.
Okay, so Neil, Jeff, Lily Dendy, Dendy from
From Simpson,
Simpson,
right?
Greg Tuzzulo, Tuzzolo,
Adam.
Dominic and Porpla,
Mhm.
Dale, Molly, Andrea Bono Bunker, Elaine, Brad, Roger, Stephen, you, Lauren Stara, and me. So I
So
think
I had that Roger was there. Was Roger not there?
Roger was there.
Okay.
Um,
So no members of the public, it sounds
no
like.
members of the public. So that must have been
Yep,
left over.
some of the
Yeah.
last. Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much.
All right. Okay.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to approve these minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I
Second.
second. It's Dalmas.
Okay,
Okay, that was Marianne and Dalmas.
yes.
And Stephen. Okay, thank you.
Antonellis,
Antonellis, aye.
Dalmas,
Dalmas, I.
Foster.
Foster, I.
We don't have Dale here yet. Jakes,
I,
Moss,
Moss, I.
Quackenbush,
Bush, I.
and Paleo, I. Okay, the minutes are approved unanimously. Moving on to the new design drawings.
I don't see any architects. Do you see any architects?
I don't. What's
All
going
right,
on?
I will email them right now.
Okay. Let's see, is there anything we could do while we're waiting for them? We could look at the Lotto 32 update.
let's
I don't really
see.
have an update.
Yeah, the Conservation Commission visited the two restoration areas a couple of weeks ago. We have not heard anything from them. Things are pretty quiet on that front.
Okay. I want to wait for them for the rest of it.
New committee liaison updates.
Okay, committee liaison updates.
Well, the Friends of the Library have been very busy and they have a very ambitious month of November. Our turkey trot is this coming Saturday, and we have over 100 people registered, which is great for a new event like this. And anyone in the audience there is welcome to sign up. We've raised at least $10,000 so far, so that's outstanding. And then the Giving Day is it the 28th? Is that right, Marianne?
Yes.
And again, we have a very ambitious fundraising goal for that as well. So
And the
hoping we-
letters went out today.
Yeah, okay, thank you. How did the pop-up look?
It looked great.
Oh,
The
good.
letter it looks really nice. I like that pop-up.
Oh, good. I can't wait to get one.
Okay. Anybody else have any liaison reports? All right. Mary Ann, can we do anything with the well design and engineering update?
No, because we're still waiting on Odenzello. We haven't heard anything back from them about that. So really everything else, why don't I try calling them?
Mary Ann, I can try to update the committee on
Okay,
the septic design and the kind of conundrum that we're in now. When they did the test pits and the investigation at the end of the driveway adjacent to Leverett Road, as we had laid out, they incurred a high groundwater table. I think they had made the committee aware of this. The intention was to wait a period of 30 or 45 days and then re-excavate in the area and try to establish to see if the groundwater table had in fact dropped. And they did that, and it had not.
Mary Ann, do
So-
you want, excuse me, Mary Ann, do you want to make me a host and I can share my screen?
yep. Okay,
Okay.
So the result of that was they would have to elevate the septic field to the point that it was roughly 6 to 7 feet above finished grade,
Mhm.
which Odenzello felt that would potentially block the view of the library building from Leverett Road and would overall detract from the site design intent. So at their recommendation, they were exploring areas within, I think, the green circle at the rear of the site as potential locations for a septic field. And that is being, I believe the intent is to do that investigation. Mary Ann, help me. I think it was either the 15th or the 16th of November. DPW was going to do the excavations, and the geotech was lined up to be on site on those days as well. So that's kind of where things stand. As a result of that, the estimating effort for the site work has stalled, and they put it on hold until they have a location and a better general design in hand for the septic field.
Brad, you have your hand up?
You had mentioned that they were thinking of the septic in the green circle. The site plan that Elaine put up is slightly different than the one I have. But in both cases, the green circle I see is proposed well location, and the septic is the yellow rectangle immediately behind the building.
I
Is
was
that
going
more-
to say, Brad, you may very well be right, and I stand corrected if that's the case. The writing is so small on my screen, I can't read it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Just double
it's-
checking.
The yellow square that's outlined in blue dots, that it says that it is the proposed leach field new location.
Thanks.
And
Thanks, Elaine.
I think the green circle is the boundary around the well,
Yeah, the 100-foot.
the 100-foot boundary around the well.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And the black dots, are those places where soil something or others have happened? Perhaps somebody knows.
Yeah, I don't know what those black dots are.
Okay.
Good question. Don't
Oh,
know.
well, no, that doesn't explain all of them. Some black dots might be the what do they call them? The bollards, the lighting.
No, I don't think so. Because there's a bunch of them over up in the corner.
Yeah.
in the northwest corner there. I don't know what those are. Okay. Any other questions? Stephen, I saw you had your hand up before.
I was gonna make the same comments that Brad did.
Okay. So you said they're coming out on the 16th or 17th. That's this Thursday or Friday to
I'll try to pull up the email.
okay.
They're coming this Thursday to do another perk test in the location where that yellow box is. So the highway department will dig the holes, and the civil engineer and Fussino and the they're all civil engineers. There are going to be a whole bunch of civil engineers here, and the health agent will be here, and we'll do another perk test. We did do a perk test in that vicinity in 2010, but not in that exact location. And the idea is that if we're going to have a raised system, you know, better back there than at the road and, you know, blocking the view of the building.
So we've talked about the fact that this then will go out for cost estimates. And so this is putting us behind on our cost estimation.
Yes.
In the correspondence that Dominic provided, he said that there was roughly, they anticipated it was going to cost them about 30 days now, and it would translate to a bid date that would be 30 days later than what was originally expected. And that is on top of the 60 to 90 days that we lost during the schematic design, the schematic redesign effort last spring and into the summer. So if I remember correctly, the last new forecasted bid date for the project is May of 24, which is somewhat unnerving, but it seems to be where we are.
Yeah. Okay. We do have our schedule. I could share that. So, right, we have, let's see, the pricing set is now moved up to our cost estimate being given to us mid-December instead of mid-November. And the bids are now going to come in May. You're right. Bids in May. It's all not much we can do about that.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting to the committee that time is money, and we're out now almost 4 months from what was originally anticipated. I think originally we were talking February, March time frame, or March anyway for a bid. Now we're into May and June. So you're looking at, you know, realistically, maybe 2 to 3% on the bid price as an increase. And the further out we go, the more reasonably we can expect that bid prices will continue to rise.
Is there anything that you can suggest that we could do to speed any of this up?
I would defer to the architect, and I would ask him what we can do to get back on schedule.
I mean, the construction documents are 4.5 months. Is that something that could be tightened up, you think?
Again, I feel like it's going, the construction documents, honestly, I think are going to largely be driven by the town approval process. And that's, conservation permitting for the final design, Board of Health review and approval of the septic design, wetlands, the list goes on and on. And I think that's largely going to drive the construction document period.
So if we could really work on getting those town approvals as quickly as possible, you're saying that 4.5 months that they have there for the construction documents could shrink also.
I believe so. I mean, I'm assuming, and I don't mean to speak for Matt or for his team, but I believe, this is a pretty simple building, all things considered. It's not that big. The detailing, the level of detailing that's required shouldn't be all that difficult. I'm hesitant to say that it's pretty straightforward. And I think that there should be some opportunity for improvement. But again, I'm hesitant to say that as an absolute without his input. And we have not spoken about it since they sent this schedule out.
Okay. Okay, but that's something for us to keep in mind for sure. And to be very aware of and to start anticipating this with the town approvals. Marianne, did you get in touch with him at,
Yeah, he's about to join.
okay, Dale, you have your hand up?
Yes, yeah, and the other point is that that doesn't include any time. If this estimate comes in higher than we're anticipating, we're gonna have to have some time for that to rework the estimate. So it can go on from there.
That's true.
And and basically the way that this is going, I think we can anticipate the fact that we might have to do some cost revisions. We've been adding on here right along. So who knows?
That's true. Hopefully it's going to be something that would be easy to just take off. For instance, with some of the landscaping and stuff and some of the exterior improvements and little things that we could take off that wouldn't significantly change what we have for pricing of the rest of it, hopefully. Marianne, do we want to wait for Matt to come on to?
Yeah, I think everything else I think we need to talk about, we need them,
Yeah,
but
I meant for the scheduling.
well, for this scheduling or for?
Yes, for the schedule that I have up on sharing.
Right. Well, so Dominic said he's about to jump on, so there he is.
Okay,
And
we're gonna just throw him in the deep end.
okay.
He'll never be late for another meeting.
There he is. And then there he is. All right. So
Hi, Dominic.
Good evening, everybody. I'm really sorry about this. I had in the calendar 7 p.m. page turn from weeks ago, and I knew I was meeting today. I thought it was 7.
Sorry. Well, we're gonna throw you into the deep end right
Yeah,
now.
absolutely.
We're talking about this schedule that I'm screen sharing.
Yes.
And we're talking about that 4.5 months of construction docs and town approvals. And we're hoping to tighten that up as much as possible.
Yep. Understood. So Matt and I went through this after, obviously you all understand where we are today. as it relates to civil and landscape, trying to catch up for this DD pricing exercise, as we are now hoping to relocate the septic leaching field. So I talked to Matt about this schedule. We tried to be as conservative as possible here, and let me talk to Matt about where we can tighten up this 4.5 months. We felt this was reasonable. I have to look again at the previous schedule, what we had here. I think we were carrying 4.5 months. And we felt that was already as tight as we could get, but let me see whether we could kind of tighten that some more with Matt.
I know that you had spoken, I think, Neil, you were the one who was saying that, the closer we get to early spring with our bid awards, the better off we are.
Yep.
Dominic, I just made the point that the concern was growing. Not only are we fighting the passage of time, but with the passage of time, costs are escalating.
Mm-hmm.
And we're already up against it in terms of the budget and squeezing every nickel we can out of the project. And at the same time, when the schedule slides, the unforeseen cost is material costs and escalation that are market factors, but they're real and they happen. So I just made the point that if we could impress upon you to somehow tighten up that 4.5 months and save a month, we'll be back into the
where we
sort
were
of
before.
the late spring bidding market, which is more advantageous than early summer.
Yep. Without speaking to Matt, I guess I can't, pull the trigger on how we can finagle this. My sense is that we might be able to meet in the middle. I don't know if we could pull 4 weeks out of the construction documents, but understanding that this leaching field was an unforeseen in the sense that how the test results ended up and what resulted from that. So again, let me talk to Matt, and apologies from Matt. It's a high holiday and he's unavailable, so he was hoping to be on the call today as well. Let me talk to Matt, Marianne, and Elaine, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I think whether we need another call or we can communicate our discussion, communicate that to you sooner, sometime this week.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Is there anything else on the schedule that anybody would like to discuss?
Dominic, can I just ask one question? Because this came up, actually, Dale brought this up. Does this construction documents 4.5 months include any time for value engineering?
I'm not sure that it does. My understanding is that it doesn't. Yep.
Thank you.
But that, and just to note, that would be different to I'm just thinking where we no, it doesn't include value engineering, I think. So let me confirm with Matt when I respond about the overall schedule, 4.5 months.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Dominic, we earlier went over this site plan. Neil walked us through it.
Yep.
Is there anything that you would like to point out that we might not have seen? We didn't know what all the little black dots.
I'm not sure if that's a PDF reader kind of snafu there. That was not indicated in my plan. I'm happy to share my plan. I do have the 100-foot buffer in, which just gives you an additional sense. That this version, though, is good to
Can
talk
stop
to.
sharing.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Let me just scramble here and get that up.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, pulling up now. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, let me zoom in here. So this is a document that I've been coordinating with Fuss and O'Neill to get new testing areas kind of located on the plan. So here we're looking at the site plan, and what we've done is once we received the layout for the septic leaching field from Heritage, which is Fuss and O'Neill's septic designer, the test pit results for the original location in the north east corner meant that we could not locate the septic field there because of the high water table. And because of the testing that was done in that area, we were only able to locate it exactly in the middle of the entry drive. There is a resulting 50-foot buffer for the leaching field where the stormwater basins are not allowed to be located within 50 feet of this leaching field. So that really constrains civil engineering's stormwater design, in that they are relying on these surface basins to be able to control stormwater runoff. So the extension of the limit of work line that you had seen from Neil's plan had enlarged this limit of work here, where Fuss and O'Neill were estimating they would need to include additional basins to be able to make the stormwater plan work. So the fact that we have the septic leaching field here means that we need to increase our limit of work so that we can include additional basins for the stormwater. Of course, we would need to relocate our entry drive. So that's what we were locating here. And with all that, we met with Fuss and O'Neill and Landscape with Stimson. And as a collective design group, we really felt that this location really felt like, in the aggregate, that we were designing a septic leaching field with a library behind it. As you can see here, we have grading lines, and this is showing a 6-foot plus elevation gain from Leverett. And so it's quite a mound. And the reason it has to be that high again is because of the water table. But we were considering moving it closer to the building. Does that alleviate anything for us? Potentially we could grade that slope a little more shallow, so it wouldn't feel like such a steep incline here at the entry. But again, it was really a challenge for stormwater to design around this. The way that the stormwater catchment would work on the entry drive is also a challenge. We'd need to capture all the water that is collected in the entry drive and handle it. And so we would be adding civil drainage lines in front of this. So we're kind of adding scope, we felt. It was becoming very challenging to make this work, not only from civil, but then also kind of what the presence of the library to the community in Leverett Road, the fact that you're really hiding the building. Penny, I see your hand is up. I wouldn't mind taking your question now before I continue explaining.
Okay, well, I'm just, I am concerned about, as you're looking at I guess it's the southwest west corner of the building and that large bump out.
This,
Right, so
Yep.
if you move the septic system, do you reduce that bump out? It's unclear as I look at the
Yeah.
plan.
the
Yeah.
the hope is yes, and I think this bump out is really about the reading garden. It's really about including appropriate grading to
Mhm.
make this reading garden happen. And this we had discussed right before we got to the end of our DD. We had a meeting with you all where Greg from Stimson was considering moving the reading garden actually into this zone here. So this is a placeholder that is still a leftover a plan indication that we were trying to hold the reading garden. There is potential that we could somehow incorporate that into a leaching field potentially, but first we need to make the septic and the septic leaching field work before we consider the reading garden. So to your point, to your question, Penny, hopefully by relocating this limit of work line reduces, because we are with the proposal to have the leaching field here in this southern location, we are expanding our limit of work line, and hopefully we can reduce this one.
I think that the last time we spoke, we realized that we couldn't have the reading garden there because we would have to have the concrete pad, and that is within the 100-foot well buffer.
That's correct.
So
Yeah.
that was going to be taken out anyway.
That's correct. It's a non-starter as drawn here.
Mhm.
So it is an old, a placeholder.
Okay.
Brad,
So you put your hand up?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay.
We've been looking at alternative locations. Could it potentially go even further south, just as a hypothetical? But I think managing pipelines to a leaching field that was outside of buffer zones, further south would be very challenging and pretty much a non-starter to get to because of the wetlands that we have between us and a more southern location. So that didn't really seem viable. We have to stay outside of this proposed well location, which in itself has a 100-foot buffer, as Elaine, you were mentioning earlier. So this really feels like the only viable option currently. We're hoping that that the tests will result in a good condition here where we can locate the leaching field. It is at a higher grade, so initially we're feeling good about this, but we'll see on Thursday.
Dominic,
Okay,
I'm
great.
assuming that would have to be pumped up.
Yes,
to a raised
and we
septic
learned.
field?
Yes, and initially I'd thought this was a gravity-fed leaching field because it was downgrade, but it would always be a pumped system because it has to be elevated from the grade in the end anyway. So, yeah.
May I ask one, or just make one more comment about this plan? And that is, again, on the south end of the site, you have that loop. I don't know how to describe this. It's immediately south of the parking area. Buffer zone bumped out in a little lobe there. Those two wetlands in there are not jurisdictional wetlands, and that line, I've asked a couple times to have that line redrawn so it's more accurate. It really should go.
You're talking about these two here?
Yes. So that little lobe that surrounds those should be removed.
That's great to know, Penny. My understanding was, and the new regs still, the exact details have eluded us a little bit, and we appreciate, everything you guys have been doing on the ground to try and get us, potential information. We thought, or I believe April, from Fuss and O'Neill in one of our coordination meetings, Penny had said that these two, her reading of the regs meant that these two wetlands were back in play for this project.
Well, I think I think we proceed based on the ANRAD, which the commission approved, in which they told us those are not jurisdictional wetlands.
And that was prior to the new regs?
But an AMRAD is good for 3 years.
Right, so I think we go by the ANRAD.
Great.
You
I'm
have to have
totally on
some
board.
point at which you design,
Yeah,
and that's why we did the ANRAD when we did, so we would
Yeah.
have that information and we could make a plan that, keeps us out of the wetlands as much as we possibly can, but we
Yeah.
have that plan.
yeah. That's great. Well, let me do that then, Penny, and I'm absolutely on board. If there's any, the fact that the NRAD holds for 3 years, hopefully will override the fact that we've got these new regs that we're trying to negotiate.
Yes, I know it's tough.
Yeah. That's great. So let me revise this plan. I'll communicate that to Fuss and O'Neill in April. April at Fuss and O'Neill is the wetland specialist that Fuss and O'Neill have that we're working with. So, and Conservation Commission liaison for us. So,
Marianne?
So Dominic, can you tell me about the size of that leach field as drawn, that rectangle?
yeah, sure.
Okay.
I can just give me a second. I can
Yeah.
scale it off this
Okay.
building, off this drawing. Sorry.
Okay.
I can get that information to you as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you could sort of give me a
ballpark.
Yeah, a ballpark,
Yeah.
a guesstimate. You're going to be better at that than I am. So,
We're looking at 40 by 46.
okay.
So that is the plateau. And then from there you grade. We're hoping that there's fairly minimal grading to this new proposed limit of work line.
Right.
Yeah.
So we did a perk test in that general vicinity back in 2010. And you should have that information in your files. And I'm actually really excited about it in that location. Because I think it's going to create kind of like a natural amphitheater where where people, and we used to have this at the library. There used to be sort of this like sloped lawn that led down to the library before the little parking lot that we have in there now. And we would come there for events and sit on that sloped lawn, and a storyteller or a musician would be beside the library, and this natural amphitheater was created. And I'm thinking that this leach field will create that condition in that field. So I'm kind of excited about it.
Nice. I like that idea, and we'll convey that to Stimson. Going back to this location here, we discussed, well, if we are having this location, what can Stimson do to disguise this? And I think they were concerned about the excessive landscaping that would be required to, to buffer this location. And so we were thinking that the leaching field itself might only need to receive minimal landscaping in this current location. But as you say, Marianne, if there is a condition here where we can get an amphitheater kind of in this zone, is how I'm reading your description, that might lend itself nicely for, maybe this reading garden becomes more of an amphitheater, and maybe they can kind of transfer this program into this zone here.
Jeff, you have your hand up.
Yeah, Dominic, so my understanding is you're gonna dig on Thursday.
Yep.
And is the theory, well, I'm trying to decide or figure out if we can help to get back on schedule.
Yep.
Is the theory that this septic system is going to get bigger, or is it just going to move?
Move.
So can we price, just to get this thing going, can we price it right now that that's where the septic system's gonna go?
Yeah, that was a good question,
So
and
we can make
we
some
had discussed
decisions?
this with Neil, and the whole group. We're really pushing to have Stimson and Fuss and O'Neill get placeholder information in that we could price. But the implication was that the stormwater plan needs to be fully graded, which is very intensive. And to do that without knowing whether this really does work is where Fuss and O'Neill balked at that kind of suggestion. And the coordination effort for Stimson as well to then do a planting plan as a placeholder. They're both so reliant on each other and need to be coordinated. The stormwater and grading, and then the landscape planting plan, where we felt that the level of detail that the cost estimator, at least for a DD level, it needs it's quite labor intensive to get to that standard. And we were concerned that we'd have to do it again anyway. So currently we have our cost estimator. They're released on the architectural and MEP side. And we're hoping to get those numbers soon, potentially this week. I was trying to get that information early this week from them. And so what we'd like to do is get those numbers and at least evaluate the project from a construction and the mechanical standpoint, and know where we stand there, because they can be kind of handled, somewhat independently of each other. And then, we can already start progressing the building side of things into CDs, while Fuss and O'Neill and Stimson prepare the documents for pricing for the site side of things. So it's a little bit of a juggling act. We're waiting on Thursday, for the testing results. We should know on Thursday whether it's viable. And from Thursday to Friday, we're going to release Fuss and O'Neill to do stormwater, release Heritage to do septic, try and get that in hand as quick as possible. And hopefully sometime before the end of November, obviously Thanksgiving next week is a bit of a wrench, but the following week, we're hoping that we can, release documents to Stimson and have them turn their documents over quickly. So, by early December, we would have pricing information that the pricing estimator can work with. So that's all to say, Jeff, that, yeah, it didn't really make sense to use placeholder. We didn't think we would get accurate pricing, and it was very labor intensive without really knowing whether it works.
How much landscape design is Stimson going to do with it with a septic mound?
In this new proposed location, I think less, but the implication is stormwater and grading is radically changed with the two locations, and I think the amount of site work required. So
you understand the stormwater and the grading. It's you said then Stimson's going to, after that's all done, then Stimson's going to be able to do their landscaping, and I'm kind of wondering what the heck they're going to do.
Yeah, so it's the way that they handle the stormwater basins, and they need to know where do these basins end up. Current with this initial location of the septic, we may have needed up to 5 stormwater basins, which Stimson want to consider in their site plan and their planting plan. So all of these things are dependent. We're also, the intent by Stimson is also to use the DD estimate as the best site plan that we can get, and then we wait for pricing and see whether we can phase that for the project. We know we're constrained by cost, but I think Stimson would like the best site plan that we would all like for the project should be captured in DD. And then the project can use the DD drawings as this is where we would like the final landscape plan to resolve in the end. And that would give us the opportunity to phase portions of that so that we can cut scope for the CD and the actual initial phase of construction. And then over the years, you can implement phased portions of landscape. That's how we've discussed it with Stimson. So they're really considering the DD effort as this the best landscape plan for the project.
I guess we have to weigh the 2 to 3% increase in cost as time moves on versus what's Simpson's going to be giving us in terms of something that we're really going to be buying anyways.
In the long run.
And I'm not
Right.
really seeing the trade-off there. Okay.
Related to schedule, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's also, well, the biggest motivation is getting you the best numbers for pricing, right? So doing a placeholder we felt was not doing the pricing estimate justice.
Right, because if we're gonna have to cut anywhere, we want to know.
Right.
Brad, you have your hand up?
In the earlier design for the septic, I think of that septic site as very northeast part of the property.
That's right.
And then for here, it's moved, I think of this as site 2, that black line. And when it moved there, it moved the driveway and it had a lot of impact on stormwater retention. And now the yellow square seems the most likely. If it's back there, does the driveway need to move? Does the stormwater retention need to move? Or are they okay where they are?
They should be okay. So the driveway would stay where it is originally designed, or where it's kind of shown here. I do have a dotted line here, just showing the move if we were to have the leaching field here. Stormwater is very specific to a lot of these moves. So I think having the leaching field back here is the least impactful for stormwater, landscape, site plan. The only detractor, I think, as we have tried to push the building and parking closer to Leverett, this was obviously a cost savings measure, but we're also limiting the extent of clearing required. And to Penny's point, we are increasing that clearing line by introducing the leaching field here, but hopefully we can reduce this one and kind of have a trade-off there. So to your point, Brad, I think it is the least impactful as it relates holistically to all the site work. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Andrea, you have your hand up?
Thank you. I just want clarification. When you said reduce scope, you were only referring to the landscape and not the actual building in
That's
terms
correct.
of the size and program, correct?
That's
Yes.
correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Absolutely.
Yep. That was from SD to our SD redesign that I quickly glazed over the scope. Yes, that's correct. The building.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Any more questions on this? Okay, thank you, Dominic. We have not reviewed the new design drawings. Does anyone want to discuss anything on the design drawings?
Have we received new design drawings recently? I haven't seen any.
Not recently, no.
We
The
did,
DD set I
Yeah.
issued minus civil and landscape. So we
I don't think we've received those.
Yes, we did.
We did? Oh, I guess we didn't receive what was sent to the estimate as we did
Uh,
last time.
Yeah, that might be my fault. So because I may be, Dominic might have sent it to me, but it might have been either just before I was on vacation or while I was on vacation. But Jeff, you saw them, so maybe you sent it to the design subcommittee.
Apologies.
And maybe I didn't send it out to everybody. So that, so we had a page turn of that planned for this meeting anyway. So do you want to, and then I can send it out to everybody after the fact. Okay.
Right. We were planning to do the page turn as a complete document once we got landscape and
Okay.
civil in. I think that makes the most sense, just to have
Okay.
everything together.
All right, then I'll email out the what you've sent already after this
Mhm.
meeting, so everybody can look at it in advance of the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we have really hopped around on this agenda. So the design drawings will be at our next meeting. Site plan we've done, well design and engineering, we don't have anything. Next steps in the process, I think we're,
Oh, maybe Dominic can give us an update on the well design and engineering.
I don't have anything new from Fuss and O'Neill on that. If you're looking for any other comment, I believe that we had left the cost was open question last time, or we had discussed how that was going to be resolved. And I think in talking to Matt, Odenzello are happy to pay half of the engineering cost after MBLC reduction. But I'm not sure how that would play out in the contract. We recommend, and Fuss and O'Neill also recommends, that contract stay with Fuss and O'Neill. It's something that we coordinate per the project with Fuss and O'Neill, but the contract itself was drawn to the town, I believe, independently. Because of your working relationship with the civil engineer, Fuss and O'Neill, we felt like that made the most sense. But Odenzello is willing to pay half of the engineering costs after the MBLC reduction.
Okay, half of the engineering or engineering and permitting, the 21,000?
The 21 it was,
Okay.
yes. Yep.
All righty.
Yep.
And
Okay.
Marianne, just for the record, that is the contract and permitting. That's what the 21,000.
That was engineering and permitting.
Thank you.
Okay.
So does
Okay.
that mean we can go ahead and create a contract and move forward? I'm starting to get anxious that there are so many loose ends.
Yes, I think it does. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so Dominic, I'll call you tomorrow and then I'll call Matt Cassane and then I'll look at that site plan. When I look at the site plan, well, I really think we need to do the perk test and be 100% sure where the septic system is going before we then decide where the well is going to go anyway. So I'm glad we haven't drilled a well yet. So I'm gonna wait and get through the perk test and see how that goes. I know how that's gonna go. It's gonna be a raise system back there too. And then I can talk to Matt and look at the plan with Penny and then make a plan about getting the well drilled. So, okay, good. All
Great.
right. Okay.
moving along.
I need to take a pause for 2 minutes to give my dog medication.
Okay,
So if someone can just capture whatever happens in the next 2 minutes.
definitely.
Thanks.
Okay. So we're down to reviewing next steps in the process. And I think that we're at the point where the next step is the perk test. And then we are going to go through the design documents. And once correct me if I'm wrong, you said once the perk test is done, and I'm assuming that it's going to be fine back there,
Mhm.
that those the design of the leach field and all the landscaping can be done. What's the time frame on that, Dominic?
So a lot of this we hope can be done simultaneously.
Yep.
And I think Fuss and O'Neill will be done somewhere in the week after Thanksgiving with their design. They have to complete the stormwater, all the civil plans. They will wait on their sub-consultant Heritage, who will design the septic related to the test results that we get from that new location. We're going to release Stimson at the same time, but there will need to be some coordination related to the stormwater. So we feel that somewhere in that last week of November and the first week of December will be when Stimson should be able to get their documents expedited. So we'll have those in hand. We can do a page turn at that point, but the cost estimator would need another week or so to expedite civil and landscape pricing. We're hoping to have the building pricing, the building and mechanical pricing before that. So hopefully sometime this week, and we'll convey that with you once we have it in hand. So a lot of moving parts. The other thing is also the NOI submission. As soon as we have our limit of work line from civil, we're going to have that staked out on the site so that Stimson can take stock of all the trees that would be in the clearing zone. And that's something that we need for the NOI submission. So that's another thing that's on our radar that we need to expedite as quick as possible too. So,
and Penny and I have agreed that we can help with that in the trees.
Yep, the tree counting.
Counting and identifying the trees. Yeah.
Yep.
Brad?
I think my translation of what you were just saying is there's a lot of moving parts and it's very hard to forecast time. I think for us, our question is when might we schedule the page turn? When are we going to meet again?
Yep.
And I'm guessing from what you're saying, we don't quite know the answer yet. Is that right?
That's correct.
I would think that December 5th would be the target.
That seems appropriate. And I would like to have that locked in by the end of this week or first thing next week, so that I can give you a heads up. If Stimson and Fuss and O'Neill can have documents by that time.
Okay, so let's put December 5th at 7 p.m. on our calendars, and you let us know if that's not going to be feasible.
Correct. Yep.
And would we take off? I had something on the 21st. I'm not sure
Yes.
that was meant for me.
That-
Is that gone now?
That's gone. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So
Okay.
I'm back taking notes again in case.
Okay. So we did say December 5th, Penny, is our next meeting, and we're hoping to do our page turn then. And Dominic is going to let us know the feasibility of all that. And you and I are going to be helping with the tree counting.
Mhm. Okay, I like to count trees.
I can count trees. All right, so I think that's our next steps, correct? So the last thing that we have is a review of the geotech report. We received questions from the community on the geotech report, but first, does anyone else have any questions on the geotech report? Anyone from the committee? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to read the questions that I received. And whoever wants to jump in and answer them, feel free. The first question was the actual testing request from the Library Building Committee sufficiently inclusive, adequate, and normative? Mary Ann, do you want to answer that?
So the request was informed by the civil engineer and the structural engineer. And when O'Reilly Talbot and Okun sent the proposal, we sent the proposal to the civil engineer and the structural engineer, and they both said that the proposal covered and would provide the information that they needed. Is that your understanding, Dominic? Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
Okay. The second question. This person noticed there was no contaminant investigation testing. Will this be required at some point prior to the start of the library build? Is contaminant testing required to secure insurance for the library project, particularly in light of PFAS being discovered on the property and/or wells of abutting properties?
I'm not sure on that, Elaine. I can find that out though.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. The third question, what were the financially significant findings of the geotech testing that adds to the cost estimate of the library build?
Can you repeat that again, Elaine? I was just
What were
taking
the-
notes. Sorry.
Sure. What were the financially significant findings of the geotech testing that adds to the cost estimate of the library build?
I'm not sure exactly. Is this the proposed for Thursday? Or is this
No,
just
this
in
is-
general? I think it's inclusive of the contract.
Okay.
So I think they're asking, were there any findings from the technical investigation that were surprising or would indicate that this will be a more expensive project?
And I would say no.
Okay. All right. The major differences between the two reports seem to be groundwater issues. The 2010 OTO report noted that groundwater would not impact the proposed building at the slab elevation at the time of 1170.25 feet. The new report states that wet soils were encountered at an elevation of 1177 feet, and OTO suggests a perimeter drainage system for the new building to control ground and surface water infiltration. Will this be included in the bid request?
We believe there's going to be some processes required depending on when they actually excavate the foundations, that there could be potential for water seeping through and that needs to be handled. As far as perimeter drainage, that's something that we're working through with structural at the moment. So not a definitive answer for you for that one specifically.
Okay. Due to the change in siting, OTO notes there may be buried abandoned utilities associated with the former garage building on the site. Is there any estimate available for costs associated with encountering this or any other buried fill during construction?
I think there are contingencies in order for that, but unforeseen. We're not digging exactly over the top of previous construction. So are we going to encounter things? Potentially, but that's something Neil, I don't know if we have that in the contract as far as unforeseens with excavation. I'm not sure, Elaine. I'd have to review.
It's
back to you.
very hard to quantify an unknown
Right.
Mhm.
on a public bidding document. I would suggest that there is contingency set aside both for the owner and the contractor that would address it if it's encountered. But again, it's speculative. We don't know if it's there or if it won't be there.
Right. Okay. Can you explain the significance of the paving design section change from the 2010 suggested gravel base course of 4 inches plus sand and gravel sub base of 6 inches to the current suggested gravel base course of 12 inches?
I'd have to review the details to get back to that question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you on the library building committee email? Do you get these emails forwarded to you, Dominic?
Not this. I didn't get this one, Mary
Okay,
Ann.
I'll send
Yeah.
it to you. I'll send it to you.
Yep.
Okay. Will the town retain OTO during the final design and construction phases as suggested in their 2023 report?
I'm not sure. I'll have to get back to you on that one as well. Yep.
Okay.
That's not, Elaine, that's really a town question, not Dominic.
Okay. Mary Ann, do you have an answer for that one?
I'll have to read over that portion of the report again. And that would be a question for the committee. We do we have worked extensively with a licensed site professional on this site. So anyway, I think I'll read over that section of the report again and then talk it over with our LSP and see if that is warranted. And
Okay.
and if I have any questions, I'll bring it to the committee. Okay.
Okay.
Mary Ann, I'll just add for clarification, it is fairly common that a geotechnical engineer establishes that the foundation is set on appropriate bearing materials at the site. For a building of this size, it could literally be done in a day, and that would clear their requirements or meet the requirements of the report. So it isn't a significant cost increase either way. We would own a geotech for the day, probably less than $2,500, and would be money well spent. So
Thanks, Neil.
for what it's worth.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Jill, is your question specifically pertaining to the geotech?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just hoping that Mr. Joyce could weigh in on the questions I had submitted, Elaine, because I thought he was well qualified to give his assessment versus the architect. Yeah,
No, Neil
being
is
a project manager.
our project manager. Neil, they were the first three questions. Was the actual testing sufficiently inclusive, adequate, normative? Was
Need you
there,
to repeat the question.
was the actual testing request sufficiently inclusive, adequate, and or normative?
I believe that the report that we got back answered all of the questions that we had relative to the site.
Okay.
I'm not a professional engineer by trade, so I really can't speak to it other than to say that I believe that all of our questions have been answered.
That's
Okay.
not what I was asking. I'm sorry. Maybe I don't want to take up everybody's time. I was just asking if what was asked for Ty and Bond to explore the actual, what the town requested, was that adequate? Was that adequate?
Oh, I see. Was the request adequate, not
Yes.
was the testing adequate? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
right. Yeah.
I'm sorry, was it, Jill, I apologize. Did you make a reference to a tie and bond?
She did, and it's not tie and bond that
Oh.
we used.
I was confused. That
Right.
threw me off.
Who was
Right.
that then? Who did I thought Ty and Bond wrote the report, no? The geotech report?
No, it was OTO. Okun, Talbot, and O'Reilly, I believe, is the name of the firm.
Mm-hmm.
My apologies, but the question's still there.
The question was the request sufficiently inclusive, adequate, and normative?
Yeah,
Did
I
we-
believe so.
Okay. And do you have anything to say, Neil, about a contaminant investigation and testing? And is that required? And is it required to secure insurance?
I would defer to the underwriter, the town's insurance provider, to answer the question.
Okay,
I would suggest that at least we have asked and been informed that the site has been investigated for contaminants previously. And I believe the town has indicated that those investigations satisfy their inquiry. Is that a fair statement? And I pose that to the committee.
yes, yes, it is.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna
Thank
go
you.
back.
Thank
Go
you.
back. You're welcome. Let's see. Have we covered everything on our agenda? I believe we have. Any other unanticipated business? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn. That's
That's
down.
Stephen,
Oh, second.
it's Jeff. Okay, Marianne,
X Nellis, I.
Stephen,
Almas, aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Dale,
Dale, I.
Penny,
Aye.
Molly,
Hi.
Jeff,
Aye.
and Paleo, aye. Thank you all. We are adjourned and we at 6:20, and we will meet again at 7 p.m. on December 5th unless you hear otherwise. And let's look forward to that perk test on Thursday. Miriam, what time is that?
9 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
At all.